Young ladies and gentlemen, good evening once again. Good evening to all of you. I welcome you and wish you a warm welcome once again here on the Evade the Conscience platform. So, in international news, a shocking revelation has just been made by this very powerful, very well-known Western media outlet called Bloomberg. Yes, Bloomberg. That's the name of this media outlet. You've heard of Bloomberg. Generally, the information that Bloomberg receives from Western sources, when Bloomberg says something, when Bloomberg puts it out there, declares it in front of the public, it always has an impact. It always comes to fruition. So, Bloomberg has just made a very shocking revelation. The revelation is based on a profound and overwhelming sense of utter despair that is expected to strike the Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, who is currently leading his country through a period of intense conflict and uncertainty. Volodymyr Zelensky will be under the lash of total disappointment with NATO, the United States of America, and all the member countries of NATO. This revelation that we are about to see will in fact help you to better understand that the statements made yesterday by the Secretary General of NATO were, quite frankly, really just to show off his theatrical, his acting skills to Zelensky. When two actors follow one another, two actors get together, one knows the other's skills, but the other doesn't know that the first is also an actor. Yeah, that's a show of strength. Maranatha. So what is the revelation? The revelation concerns the next NATO summit, which will take place on the 14th to 24th of June. On June 24, 2025, the NATO summit will be held. And it is with this in mind that the Secretary General of NATO, very agitated, made statements yesterday. But this revelation is going to surprise Zelensky. So what does the revelation say? That's what we'll be discussing in this video conference, ladies and gentlemen. All right, but before we continue, I ask you to give lots of likes. Give lots of likes, and above all, don't forget to always leave a comment. There you go. Always leave a comment. And by the way, greetings to my younger brother, Michel Teolama, from the Republic of Guinea. There you go. So, in depth, what should we say? The statement they will issue on June 24th. You know, every time they go to a summit, there is already a draft statement prepared. That's why often, as soon as they finish, there is automatically a statement ready, which is read out. So they prepare the statement in advance. When they arrive, maybe they'll make a few adjustments, but the main points are already set. These are predetermined ideas. The summit is just a formality. So the statement from the upcoming NATO summit does not mention Ukraine's prospects for joining NATO. They won't even talk about that. According to Bloomberg, which also cites sources, they won't talk about it. No. But yesterday, we also hear, I'm not talking about those who just joined us on the page, we also hear yesterday, the NATO Secretary General said that NATO will not back down. All right? Ukraine will indeed join NATO. Kiev's path to NATO is irreversible. But on the 24th, that's not what they're going to declare. In fact, even for now, Zelensky isn't even invited to participate in the NATO summit. He's not invited. His foreign minister said that Ukraine was invited, but Zelensky was still thinking about it, blah, blah. That's not true. That's not true. You can invite Zelensky to the NATO summit and have him sit there to think things over. We often say back home, when you're looking for something among mango leaves, mango tree leaves, or the leaves of any tree, the thing you're looking for, as soon as you find it right under your feet, what do? Instead of going all the way over there to look for it, you go to your feet, but you bend down, pick it up calmly, and with the peace of a samurai, in a samurai-like tranquility. Zelensky, who is determined at all costs to simply greet the leaders of the NATO member countries, to get close and catch the scent of the NATO summit when he's invited. And when the guest is about to speak, they will give him a microphone, will be handed to him. He will complain, he will explain how many times they have been victims, and so on and so forth. He will insult the world. He will say, you refuse to make such a strong decision. That's why Russia does this, does that. He will keep up the pressure. You have to give me weapons, and so on and so forth. Zelensky cannot refuse Let's move on to the revelation. Make sure you have shared this as much as possible. And everyone who hasn't downloaded the Moyen Express app yet, go ahead and download it. This is Africa's platform. Let's go. So, this issue took on great importance at previous summits. The question of Ukraine's membership in NATO. And they also promised $40 billion to Kiev last year. But so far, Kiev hasn't received the money. And this year, they haven't even planned to talk about that during the summit. In other words, they too are brushing aside the Ukraine issue. Ukraine is no longer a priority for them. That means from now on, it won't just be the United States alone that gets blamed. The issue, this Ukraine issue, everyone is brushing it aside. People are tired. People are tired. That is to say, even if you love to fight, no matter how much, at some point, you will get tired. I'll give you a very concrete example. That's what's happening to the West. They took on the Russia issue with a lot of determination. That's what's happening to the West. I'll give you an example. One day, in a bar, somewhere in Africa, over there in Bonaberi, that's in Cameroon, there's a man, a giant, who is really, really strong meaning. When you see him, you just keep quiet. There's a guy who's skinny, small. He doesn't even have any strength. He finds him in the bar and thumps him on the chest. Hey, what's up with you? He starts talking. Then he hits him. He comes over, sits down, orders his beer, and starts drinking. Do you know the guys from Bonaberi in Douala in Cameroon? He starts drinking his beer. The little thin guy asks the manager, he says, give me a loaf. We send it to him, he smokes. He says to the guy, you want to beat me? No, let's go out. They went outside. They fought. He got beaten up good. Afterwards, he went to sit down. He says to the manager, it's the smallest one who gets beaten. He says to the manager, give me a beer, give me a joint. They give him one. He takes a drag. He says to the big guy, he says, come hit me again. Your job is to hit me. Come on. They go outside. He gets beaten up again. They went more than 10 rounds. The bartender, everyone who was there, the whole Bonaberi neighborhood came out. They begged the smaller guy, please, let it go. Just leave it. Because the big guy had hit him. He was exhausted. He was tired now. He had no strength left. He says, please let it go. It's enough. He gave him the money. He says, no, I'm not going to hit you anymore. That's enough. He says, no, hit me. They kept going like that. They started at 12 o'clock. They kept at it until 11 at night. The guy refused. From 2 in the morning, everyone was tired of talking. The neighborhood leaders, everyone was tired of talking. And in the end, the two of them were lying next to each other. The guy asks, give me a smoke. He smokes it really well. Then he does this. He says to the big guy, he says, hit me. The big guy has no strength left. He does this. If the big guy hadn't read 2, he would have hit him. They kept going like that until 6 in the morning. They fell asleep. When they woke up, I'll explain the rest to you. Leave a comment. I want the next part. If you follow the example. So that's what happens. The West is tired. NATO has not planned anything regarding Ukraine for its upcoming summit. So what should be noted is that the promise of long-term security assistance to Ukraine has also been removed. The promise of 40 billion was removed from the statement. Furthermore, the statement does not mention that Russia is an aggressor country. Since Trump did not say that Russia is an aggressor country, in this upcoming summit statement, Russia is no longer considered an aggressor. The statement, which is only 1 page long, is exclusively devoted to NATO's defense spending. NATO countries commit to allocating at least 3.5% of their GDP to essential defense needs by 2032, as well as an additional 1.5% for the protection of infrastructure, network security, and civil preparedness, thus reaching the 5% threshold on which the United States of America insists. So they will seek to meet America's demand. Since America does not want the conflict to continue, NATO will not fund Ukraine. The 40 billion, no, that's not true. Ukraine's accession to what do you call it? To NATO, that's false. So the head of NATO was putting on a show. His recent statements in London, it was just an act. So ladies and gentlemen, that was the top story in international news. So please share it as much as possible. I'll be back with more news for you shortly. This was the voice of your one and only samurai.